Come into a nice child's pose to begin with. Open your, there's two versions of child's pose. So you can have your knees come all the way together. This is more traditional way. And then lean over your thighs. Have your forehead on the mat. Or the more modern version of a child's pose is you open your knees as wide as your mat and then you lean over your you bring your pelvis down in between your legs. And relax your elbows in the child's pose, relax your forehead. And use this time to arrive to your practice. Child's pose is one of those poses that you can take at any moment in any of the other classes we do during the week. If you need to catch your breath or do, just take a break. Child's pose is excellent for that. And there's many other benefits to this pose as well, unless you're having some knee issues. The only time the child's pose wasn't really enjoyable for me was when I was recovering from my surgery a year and a half ago, and I couldn't actually be kneeling down. So in that case, you always go back on your back or put a blanket or something, soft underneath your knees. But if your knees are not troubling you, this is an excellent pose to be in. It is very introspective. It is, causing that you look more within. So we're not going to spend here a lot of time because I do want to get you guys moving. But take the last couple of breaths here. Hello everyone, nice to see you all practicing this Wednesday as well. Let's play some music too. With the next inhalation, guys, you can actually bring your forehead off the mat, look slightly in front of you. And if you don't have your elbows off the mat, press firmly into your hands and lift off your elbows off the mat, stretching through your fingers. As I'm looking for the music, I'm just giving you verbal cues. You don't have to see me while you're doing this. So just stretch through your fingers, look towards the front of your mat. And then what I would like you to do is place your right hand underneath your left elbow, directly underneath your left elbow, or pull your right arm under your left arm. So the left fingertips are reaching for the front and the right arm comes underneath. And then bring your forehead down to the mat again. I'll show you in a second what I mean by this in case you need any help. Okay, there's our music. Stay here, reach really through both left fingertips and right fingertips. Okay, so if you're having any issues, so essentially it was like this. The right hand is underneath, the right arm is underneath. We're opening our shoulder a little bit. Or you can just keep your palm underneath the left elbow and then relax down. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch. Let's have both of the fingertips reaching forward for the front of the mat. Place the left palm underneath the elbow or reach the entire hand underneath, resting on your shoulder, extending through those right fingertips. You're actually going to be lifted from your heels here, and you can even curl your toes behind you for a little bit more support if you're pulling your entire arm through. This is excellent for your shoulders. Awesome. Pull that arm back. Lift off your elbows, look forward. Inhale, come to lie on your belly for a second. Pull your hands back in line with your chest. Inhale, bring your chest off the mat. Press firmly into tops of your feet here. Look slightly in front of you. In our back bend, so this is a micro back bend or a baby cobra pose. Often it's referred like that. You want to extend through your toes. Nice work. From here, bring yourself up into a nice tabletop. Even though it's a beginner's friendly class, let's just warm up our core here. So you can either stay on your knees, toes, and hands and press firmly into your hands and externally rotate your elbows, or you can add a little bit extra, which is lifting off your knees here. But all the while, keeping your back straight and parallel with the mat, your tailbone is tucked here. So you don't want this curve in the lower back. You want to normalize for that. Then maybe you can stay here, you can stay on your knees, or you can extend your feet back in a high plank pose. And then exhale back. Let's take a wide-legged down dog here. Press firmly into both of your hands. So the heels are reaching for opposite corners of the mat. And then pedal your feet, warm up in your down dog, meaning you bend one knee, then the other. Bring your feet gently together or slightly apart, no wider than your hips. Let's all keep our knees bent here, regardless whether you can go to a full expression of downward facing dog. Let's, all for one and one for all. Bending our knees, pushing strongly into our hands. Coming to this variation of your down dog. And then from here, start to walk your feet forward towards your hands. Your hands are already forward. And then forward fold over your legs. Catch your opposite elbows here. Heel toe your feet so they're slightly apart. You can put one hand in between your feet. Okay, they're parallel on a single line. Catch your opposite elbows, release your neck, look towards your knees, keeping your knees bent as well. And then if you're feeling balanced, you can do little circles, either with, your torso, or even you can do little circles around your ankles, with your ankles. But be careful you don't fall out. If you start falling, just release the elbows and place your hands down. Just playing with our balance, playing with our sense of where we are in the space. This is a really important part of yoga practice. If you notice, by doing more yoga, and this is not my attempt to sell you yoga, it's a fact. You all of a sudden, if you do more yoga, you become less clumsy and more aware of things, right? So there is this sense that is recently talked a lot about. It's called proprioception. And this sense tells your mind where you are in the space. So by doing yoga, you explore all these different poses, and your sense of awareness in space increases. Your proprioception increases. Let's go ahead and release your elbows. If you were holding on to them, and then slowly start to come up. Imagine you're holding something really heavy in your hands. Slowly, slowly, slowly
The head is the last thing to come up. Move slower than you think you are moving.
Awesome work. When you bring your head all the way up, step to the front of your mat. Bring your feet parallel. Look at your feet. Make sure they're either close together, slightly apart. Put your hands on your waist. Let's stack all of our joints, starting from our feet to our hips. So look at your feet. Maybe lift off your toes, so that will engage the arches of your feet. Gently press the quads, pushing the hips slightly forward. If you have a curve in the lower back, which is more than the natural, make sure you fix that. Sorry, I just had to step out for a second. So you push your hips forward, then you open your chest, you roll your shoulders down, have your hands next to your side, tuck in your chin slightly so we fix our forward rounded posture, tucking our chin back, extending to the top of our head. And then if you're feeling balanced by doing all of this work, you can gently close your eyes. Reconnect with your sense of breathing here. Nice work, everyone. Keeping your eyes closed. Beginner's friendly class. If you're just joining the live stream, feel free to jump in. We're going to do some sun salutations after this. So if you've never done yoga, this is your chance to move to certain poses. So with the next exhalation, gently open your eyes, release your hands by your side. So we have experimented the last couple of days with interlacing our fingers. I want to continue doing that because it really informs our shoulders and helps open our chest. So what I want you to do is interlace your fingers, turn your palms away from you, and then inhale, bring those palms up all the way to the ceiling without necessarily changing any of this here, like your posture, your torso shouldn't flare up. It should stay nicely grounded. And if you can only come, to a certain point, you don't have to bring your hands above your head. They can be slightly in front of you. I just don't want you to compensate and do this. With the next exhalation, reach long and forward, long spine to come down. You can keep a micro bend in your knees, exhale to come all the way down. Release your hands by your side. With the next exhalation, come into your version of low squat, bending your knees, coming all the way down, slightly up, heels are on the mat. If you're having any difficulties with squatting, this is a normal resting pose for humans. And we kind of lost this ability over time. And it's usually because of tight hips or tight calves. And we work on tightness in both of those areas in classes outside of this one. Awesome work. With the next exhalation, exhale into your forward fold. Keeping your knees still micro bent, interlace your fingers, turn your palms away from you, and then long spine to come up. Inhale, inhale, inhale through your nose as possible. Come up. Relax your shoulders. Fix your pose. This pose is in Sanskrit referred as Urdhva Hastasana. upward hand pose, very literal translation or very literal name for the pose. With the next exhalation, long spine to come down, coming to your forward fold, Uttanasana.
You should release the interlace, place your hands on the mat, exhale into your version of low squat here. Maybe you pull your fingertips in line with your toes here if you're in a really low squat. And then you can even, get your forehead in between your knees eventually. This feels really good in your lower back, getting you some traction in that lumbar spine, in your cervical spine as well. We don't have to, get the benefit of yoga by moving through poses vigorously, which is something I enjoy doing, but it's not something we need to do every day. There's so much benefit in moving slower and exploring these poses. Exhale, come into your forward fold. When you're in your forward fold, check where do you distribute your weight. Is it more on the balls of your feet or on your heels? And then if you notice you're maybe leaning in more forward, which happens for majority of the people, then involve your heels a little bit as well. And try to have that even distribution between your feet. Interlace your fingers, turn your palms away, inhale all the way up, hands reach for the ceiling. Keep your hands here, adjust your pose, Urdhva Hastasana. Check your feet, your hips. Suck in your belly a little bit, keeping your chest broad, your upper back broad. With the next exhalation, long spine to come down. Uttanasana, forward fold. Release the hands by your side. Exhale all the way down, low squat, Utkatasana. Sometimes translated as difficult pose. The slow version shouldn't feel difficult unless, your hips are tight. In which case I advise that you just come enough up so that your heels are on the mat. And then if you're comfortable in your low squat, you can even gaze towards a space in between your knees. From here, we're not going to go all the way up, but step both of your feet back. Feet are parallel. Tuck your tailbone. Adjust your hands so that they're directly underneath your shoulders. So this is where you should be in Dandasana, in this plank pose. So they should be directly underneath your shoulder. And from here, exhale, knees come to the mat, and then your chest comes to the mat, and then your chin comes to the mat. Your butt is up in this pose, and then pull yourself forward, lie on the mat, bring the tops of your feet down, pull your hands back, and from here, inhale, peel off your chest, but leading with the top of your head. You're looking slightly in front of you. Maintaining that same gaze, you can even straighten your arms and come into a full expression of cobra. In which case you might need to walk your hands slightly back here so that the elbows are touching your side body. And open your chest wide, reach, extend through the top of your head and your toes. And then from here, curl your toes behind you. Push yourself back into downward facing dog. Strong hand engagement, strong feet engagement. You are in this V shape. We're going to stay in our down dog for 5 rounds of breath. So if you're new, if you're experimenting, or if you're just learning your down dog, essentially you're in this kind of pyramid V shape, inverted V shape. The aim is to straighten both of your legs and your hands, and your arms. And there's a couple of things that play into this pose. 3 more rounds of breath here, guys. So one is your feet are parallel. You wouldn't be able to see your heels when you look back. You're gazing towards your knees. You're equally pressing both into your hands and feet. And eventually, you'll come down with a straight back by pulling your navel towards your spine, creating more space. With the next exhalation, bend both of your knees, look forward, step both of your feet forward. Inhale into your half lift. So your half lift, let's actually place our hands on our shins, straight back and look slightly in front of you. And then interlace our fingers, turn our palms away, and from this pose, let's come all the way up. Inhale, hands reach for the ceiling. Let's keep our hands here. We're not lowering our hands. Really working on those shoulders. Again, adjust your pose. If your chest are flaring up and you're kind of in this semi-back bend, adjust that. Push your hips forward. Come into your back bend now with inhalation. So big, deep inhale through your nose. Reach for the back of your mat. Exhale, forward fold. Release the interlace. With the next exhalation, come into a low squat for a second. Squat all the way down. From here, exhale, step both of your feet back, come into a high plank pose. Adjust your hands so they're underneath your elbows. Tuck your tailbone, compress your core. Exhale, knees, chest, and chin come to the mat. And then from here, pull yourself forward, lie on your belly. Bring your hands slightly behind you, your elbows are parallel. And then inhale, come all the way up. So this is your cobra pose. And then curl your toes behind you. Exhale back to downward facing dog. You can still keep your knees bent here, or if you're feeling warmed up, you can start to straighten your knees. Eventually, with time, your heels come on the mat if they're not there. And really the biggest contributor to getting your heels down, it's not really in your lower back, it's more in bringing that navel towards the spine. Stay in your downward facing dog for 3 more rounds of breath. So it's really when you bring your navel towards the spine, there's all this additional space being created here. And after a while, you learn how to breathe comfortably with your diaphragm contracted like this, pulling your navel. 1 more round of breath, guys. With the next exhale, you're going to bend your knees so they come almost all the way down to the mat. Look forward. Step both of your feet forward. Bring your hands on your shins. Straight back to look down. Interlace your fingers. Turn your palms away from you. Inhale all the way up. Keep your hands where they are. Relax your shoulders. Open your chest. Stack all of your joints from the ground up. With the next inhalation, hips forward, bend towards the back of your mat. Exhale, forward fold, long spine to come down. Relax your hands next to your feet. Exhale all the way down to your version of low squat. Press firmly into your hands. Step both of your feet back. High plank pose. Reposition your hands so they're underneath your shoulders. From here you can come knees, chest, chin. Or if you want to try something different, we can come into Chaturanga Dandasana, low push-up, very famous and very hard yoga pose. So essentially, the way you're doing the Chaturanga Dandasana, you are rolling over your toes, you're bringing your shoulders over your wrist, and then you're bending your elbows and lowering your shoulders to be in line with your elbows. Your wrists should be directly underneath your elbows here. And then from here, you can lie down for a second. Inhale, bring yourself up to Cobra. Or if you want to try out downward facing dog, the only difference between upward facing dog, the only difference between upward facing dog and Cobra is your knees are off the mat. So you're pressing into the tops of your feet, opening your chest, looking slightly in front of you, and then exhale back, downward facing dog. Stay here for 5 rounds of breath. Find stillness in your down dog. We are moving at a nice, gentle pace today, exploring poses, refining poses. It's Wednesday. It's mid of the week. Let's take it a little bit easy. Two more rounds of breath in your down dog. Great job yogis and yoginis. With the next exhalation, bend your knees, get them very close to your mat, and then actually get your knees all the way down. Open your knees as wide as your mat. Sit back on your heels, come back to your child's pose. I'm working with a little bit of a headache today, so this child's pose feels so good for me. Okay, we're running into a risk of me staying here for the rest of the class, so walk your hands back, get your knees together if they were apart, sit back on one side of your mat, and then swing your legs forward, extend your legs forward, have your feet flexed, and then I want to explore two poses here that we oftentimes overlook. So it's called a staff pose, also referred to as Dandasana. So you're sitting upright, your feet are flexed, you are stacked, your shoulders are stacked above your waist, and you walk your hands in line with your hips. You're not pressing into your hands to come up. You're just resting your hands there, and you are extending to the top of your head here. Okay, this is one of those poses that looks deceptively easy, especially in the beginning. And then from here, inhale, your hands come up. You can also interlace your hands and turn the palms away. And again, you see what happens with me. My chest are coming up, so I need to adjust my hands, not to be so much back, but a little bit forward. And then from here, exhale, fold over your legs, leading with long spine. And maybe you just come here. And this is totally okay. You can release the interlace and have your hands face one another and be parallel. And maybe you're just here. If you have, let me see if I have like a, I can use this kitchen towel, like kitchen cloth or something along those lines. You can actually wrap a towel or something along those lines around your feet here, keeping your back upright and then using this little prop to come down more. Tucking your chin slightly, gazing towards your shins. Okay, wherever you are, inhale, hands reach for the ceiling, interlace your fingers, turn them away from you. And then exhale, lie all the way down slowly. Keep that roundness in your spine as you're coming down. Having that kind of cat tilt coming down, all the way down. Swing your arms forward. Bend both of your knees. Place them on the mat. Let's move into our back bends. So back bends we typically do either on our belly, right? Or another version of back bend is on our back. And essentially, a couple of pointers here. Bring your heels there. You can lightly touch them with your fingers. So if you can touch them with your fingers, move them slightly away so you cannot touch them. This is how you know your feet are at the right place. Keeping your feet parallel, no wider than your hips. You're going to press into your feet, tuck in your tailbone first, lifting off your tailbone just slightly, pressing into your hands, inhale to come all the way up. And maybe you want to bring one shoulder then another and scooch your shoulders underneath, creating this nice platform for your shoulders. And then you can press even more into your hands and feet, opening your chest, gazing in between or like down your chest here. Nice, controlled, informed bridge pose. There's so many things to pay attention here to at the beginning, and then as you refine your practice more, this becomes a lot more effortless. So check in your hamstrings, make sure you're not squeezing your butt here to get up. You're pressing into your feet more to come up. Then check your shoulders. You are actually using your shoulders, your hands and your feet to come up. You're not resting your weight on your neck here. And then exhale to come down. I know that was a longer hold. The tailbone touches the last. We're going to repeat this 2 more times. With the next inhalation, first bring your tailbone off the mat. This informs the pose. And then firmly press into feet, into hands. Roll your shoulders underneath. Open your chest a little bit more. Press firmly into hands, feet, and the tops of your shoulders. Open your chest, gaze down your chest. Imagine there are 2 strings attached to your knees and someone is pulling those strings away from you. So you're not changing anything with your knees, but you're just engaging your quads more. Exhale to come down. The tailbone is the last to touch, so there is a roundness in your back as you're coming down. Okay guys, get 1 or 2 breaths of rest. We're going to go ahead and do this 1 more time. I'm going to give you an option here. So inhale, come back to your bridge pose. If you have rolled your shoulders underneath and you have enough mobility in your shoulders, you can
Interlace your fingers, place them underneath you. The knuckles are facing your feet. And this should open your chest even more. Check your feet. Make sure you're not pressing into your heels only. You're pressing into your heels and balls of the feet as well. Fantastic work. With the next exhalation, you've had the interlace, release the interlace. Slowly come down. The tailbone touches the last. Hug both of your knees into your chest. Sway from side to side. Forwards and backwards. Extend your left leg forward. Bring your hands over your right knee. Bring your right knee towards your right armpit here. Compressing your right hip for a second. And then using your left hand over your right knee, cross it over your left leg. Come into this nice supine twist. Open your hands like a T and gaze towards the right side of your mat. You can place your left hand on top of the right knee if you want slightly more control and bigger stretch. Okay. Awesome work, you guys. Bring back your right knee back to the center. Hug it one more time towards your right armpit. Extend the right leg forward. Bring the left knee in. Hug it. Bring it towards your left armpit. Not literally, but imaginary. Imagine you're doing this. And then exhale, bring your left knee over the extended right leg. Bring your arms like a T. Gaze over to the left side of your mat. You can bring your right hand on top of your left knee here as well. This nice supine twist, a great way to end our practice, a gentle practice today. With the next inhalation, bring it back to center. Hug your left knee one more time. Bring it to your left armpit for a second. And then extend your left leg forward. Bend both of your knees, hug them to your chest. We're just going to finish with a nice gentle inversion. So at the end of yoga class, we always do inversions. You might have seen people doing headstands, handstands. So inversion means that we are reversing the blood flow from our heart to our body, from our body back to our heart. So by lifting let's lift both of our legs towards the ceiling, our hands towards the ceiling, relaxing our shoulders. So this makes our heart, heart pump work less, and we are giving our heart a bit of a break. So just keeping your hands and feet here for a moment or two. Pressing firmly with your lower back into the mat. And then exhale, bring your feet slowly all the way down. Bring your hands next to your waist. Open your legs as wide as your mat. Have your feet fall to the side. Open your arms. Have your hands face the ceiling or the floor.
Roll your head from side to side. Lift up your head, look in between or towards your chest for a second, and then release it back down. Close your eyes and come into your final relaxation, Shavasana, also translated as a corpse pose. Find stillness in your Shavasana. Release any last unnecessary tension you might be holding in your body. For me, that's usually the muscles of my face. So you might want to imagine as you're relaxing that area in between your eyebrows. Bring a gentle awareness to your eyelids. Imagine you're relaxing your eyelids consciously. And then maybe you are also bringing the corners of your mouth slightly up, resulting in a small half smile. I feel like this really informs the muscles of our face to relax. From here, for a moment, imagine that you can bring a smile across your heart. So this is not really medically or anatomically possible, but just use your imagination. I feel like this informs again that area around our heart, makes us a little bit more receptive, more open. From here, next, pay attention to your feet and your hands as the end of your extremities. Notice any vibrancy within your feet, within your hands. Notice how, if there is light tingling or any sensations along those lines. And then finally, observe your entire body as one field of sensations. So from your head all the way down to your toes, all the way out to your hands, one field of sensations. You're welcome to stay here, explore this little meditation, explore your quote-unquote field of sensations, maybe focusing on your breath, maybe paying attention to external sounds. So no need to move. Please stay here as long as you desire, wish, or have time for. If you have to move, if you have to continue with your day, feel free to bend both of your knees, roll to one side, left or right. Bring yourself up into a nice seated pose. Come cross-legged, but absolutely no reason to move just yet. You can bring your palms in your lap, in front of your hard chest. One last conscious breath together, inhaling through our nose and maybe exhaling through our mouth, releasing. Namaste, yogis and yoginis. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. 2 little announcements for the end of our class and one ask. So my website is live, after-ego.com. Please
come over there. It's an early version of the site, so I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts and ideas and feedback. How can we improve it? So please, 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 it would mean a lot to me if you can review it and send me a couple of lines. The second thing is, if you enjoy today's practice, if you like today's practice, please maybe take a little selfie after this practice and send it over to me. I enjoy seeing how you guys are practicing.